Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and I have another good one for you. What I'm going to talk about tonight, we get a little bit into the mainstream media. We'll talk about some of the donors that Kamala Harris or the celebrities that Kamala Harris campaign gave money to. And there are going to be other topics like some of the nominees that Donald Trump has put up front. Now, the election has been over for 2 weeks, and the left is still going crazy. And if you look at the left right now, you're seeing the same thing today that happened in the 60s. Remember the old hippies? Well, that's what you're getting today. You got women who are trying to use the 4B method not to give guys sex, a bunch of bullshit. These women are ugly women. They're shaving their heads off. Some of them are growing hair on their arms. And let me tell you guys something, too. I can't wait till I start doing my red pill videos again. When you guys start seeing a number of these women with a bunch of tattoos, piercings, a bunch of earrings, shaved hair, and different colored hair, we know who they are. They're the feminists. Those are the ones you don't fuck with. But the bottom line is, during this campaign, it's funny what I'm hearing from the Democrats. So they blame men, particularly minority men, blacks, Hispanics, for voting for Donald Trump. But what about the women who voted for Donald Trump? Nobody's talking about that. At least 10% of the black women voted for Donald Trump. Now, if you look at the real statistics out there, still more blacks supported the Democratic Party. But with all that, Kamala Harris still lost. She lost because she didn't have a message. Every time she was asked a question, even by the media, who really let her get away with a bunch of word salad. I mean, she went to Oprah, she went to Shannon Sharp, she went to CNN. The only one that gave her a little pushback, you had Anderson Cooper from CNN, a little pushback. You had Brett Baer, gave her some pushback. Now, I believe she went on Fox because she was desperate, but I'm going to step out for a moment and really give you this analysis. Was Kamala Harris the fall person? Because if you think about it, she was the vice president. Biden had the money from his campaign. You think about it. Kamala Harris didn't even make it to the Iowa caucus in 2019 when she was running for president then. Remember, she said no fracking. She wanted basically the taxpayers to pay for prisoners to get sex change operations. Heck, she even offered black men, when she tried to lay out a platform, dispensary businesses. So, with that being said, as a black man, why would you even support somebody like that? And if you're a black man and you supported Kamala Harris, you can do what you want, but I don't have any respect for you. You had people like Ricky Smiley, Roland Martin, You had people, Stevie Wonder, John Legend. You had other celebrities. Now, I'm going to say this about the celebrities. So I want to sit back and give you my analysis on it. Because I believe that money was involved. I mean, you think about it. She gets $1 billion, but she ends up 20 million in the red. So overall, she had $1,020,000,000. Now I know she was spending money like hotcakes in the swing states. Advertising cost a lot of money. She had to pay her staff. And I also believe to get her audience to be bigger than it normally is, she paid to bust them in as well. It's funny how she would say Trump's rallies were small. Trump's rallies were getting 60, even 100,000 people, particularly in the red states of the blue states of New Jersey, New York. He had quite a bit of people in Pennsylvania, everywhere Trump went. And see, Trump went to events like the Alabama football game, the Pittsburgh Steelers football game, and Trump went to the MMA fights. And see, Trump knew about sports. People gravitated to Trump. People did not gravitate to Kamala Harris because she was an empty shell. She would always talk about her mom and an individual just like her mom who owned a small business. I'm still puzzled. What about her dad? Now, Candace Owens has put out a lot of information about her family. And she had individuals in her family who were slave owners. Is it that she's using what liberal white women and white men use, the white guilt? Because one thing, and I don't have a problem with Caucasian people, but please stop telling us about racism. Because the more you talk about racism, I put a mirror up to you and look at you as the racist. And I'm talking about liberal white people. I mean, they're always talking about Uncle Tom, trying to tell us how we should live our lives, when many of them don't even know how to live their own lives. And many of them were the problems. Many of them, particularly you, the liberal white female, is taking a black female and used her for their foot soldiers, the mouthpiece, the fence for them, while the liberal white woman goes home to her man. She's preaching to the black woman. You don't need no man. Putting up some Gloria Steinem shit. It's what happened with Michelle Wallace, a book about black men that she wrote in 1978 about hating black men, the misandry against black men. Nobody ever talks about that. Well, Gloria Steinem was a CIA agent. A lot of us know that. But in the end, when you vote for somebody like Kamala Harris, what she tried to be is someone for everybody. She's a compulsive liar. Everybody knows it. Now, what is next for her? I really don't know. But for right now, the only thing that she can do is for the next 2 months, because she is the tiebreaker in the Senate, they can run through some crazy initiatives until Trump wipes that out with executive orders starting January 20th, 2025. Now, Kamala Harris was built up by the mainstream media. This is why the polls, and they didn't work this time. They didn't work this time because we already knew how the media was. And you have individuals on the left saying, well, the media was fair against Trump. No, the media wasn't. The media was basically giving Trump an 89 and 90% negative rating while giving Kamala Harris 84% positive rating. Now, right now, you have people going back over there to Fox. I'm still not a real trusting viewer of Fox. I mean, I look at Blaze TV, that's Glenn Beck, News Nation, Newsmax. Heck, Newsmax, if you look at Newsmax, a lot of the people from Fox went over to Newsmax. And then some of the people from Fox went over there to News Nation. And you got Chris Cuomo, who went over to News Nation. But the media was Kamala Harris's darling. Now, let's see if I can share my screen. And I'm just going to prove to you what the media did. The media did lie, and a lot of these surrogates on the left who were in the media, and you still have them now. They're paid as well. Yeah, people like Al Sharpton. He was paid, I believe he may have been paid $500,000. Roland Martin paid $350,000. Eminem, $1.5 million. Beyonce, $10 million. Meg Thee Stallion, $5 million. Cardi B, she probably got a couple of million or more. And the funny thing about all these entertainers, they're all millionaires. And even Oprah. Oprah got a ton of change for her corporation, Harpo. Now, she's denying that she got money, but do you believe that these celebrities were going to come up there and actually endorse her for free? I don't believe so. You had Usher. I don't know how much money he got. You had Lady Gaga. You had Taylor Swift. And the funny thing with all of these celebrities, and they're all millionaires themselves, Kamala Harris still lost. And if you want to blame people like me for voting for Trump, I'm a black man. Yes, I did vote for Trump. I voted for Trump all 3 times. And you call me a misogynist, call me a misogynist. I'll take that name with a grain of salt. See, I don't hate women. I don't like feminist women or liberal women, regardless of what race you are. I'm a misogynist to those type of women. I don't hate anybody that has an alternative lifestyle, but I don't want you forcing your alternative lifestyle to me. But then when I give you some traditional values, I'm the problem. See, that's the problem here. We have been on this alternative, this feminist, this liberal train for the past 60 plus years. And remember, you hear this repeated on YouTube, know where they got it from. The 5 power conferences of society. And they run culture. That's your media, your government, your jobs, your education, and your religion. The left has poisoned those 5 big institutions and you got what you got. You look at movies. I mean, I'm hearing Denzel Washington out there talk about he kissed a man. See, we're tired of all this woke bullshit out here. And these liberals, they don't live in the real world. That's their problem. And when reality hits them, they blame somebody else. Now, let me see if I can run a clip. Now, this is fair use. This is from the Washington Examiner. Fair use. Fair use. Let's see what I can do.
Or that legitimate story. The news media are on the side of the Democrats and they will distort things. So they are uninterested largely in the hearings that have revealed a network of Biden family.
I'm going to go back here and give you some more because I didn't get that first part of this clip. You need to hear what is being said about the media. This is what got the media in trouble. Fair use. Let's continue.
The Washington Examiner, and he joins me now. Hugo, here's my position, if I may. The media is again interfering in the election. What do you say to that?
I think there's culpable incuriosity on the part of the media. We all know, and this has been going on for a very long time, that the great majority of the news media side with Democrats. And the report that you were just giving about the 51 intelligence officers downplaying and indeed trashing the Hunter Biden laptop story deliberately to help the Biden administration was played up by the media, and the media used that to ignore that legitimate story. The news media are on the side of the Democrats and they will distort things. So they are uninterested largely in the hearings that have revealed a network of Biden family recipients.
And also the media is also on the side of Kamala Harris. Again, you look at MSNBC, you look at CNN, you see the panels every day. Paid surrogates who really lie for the Democrats. And if you think about this, you had, I believe her name was Mia, and of course, Joe Scarborough. They went down to Mar-a-Lago, talked to Trump. Now, to me, if I was Trump, I wouldn't be forgiving of them. And I believe they went down there to get on their knees because they're afraid of what's going to happen. But I'm going to let Fox Business give you some more about what's going on with this media. Fair use. Let's continue.
Of money which was flowing from Romania and China, and in the case of China, was coming from a front company for the People's Liberation Army. So the idea that this is completely uninteresting and not worth reporting on or covering is an extraordinary one. Whether this is in the long term, sure, the media want to help the Democrats win elections. So you could say it's election interference. I think I would put it somewhat lower than that, just say it's part of the constant undertow of bias in most of the media.
I think you're right on that one. Next case, the White House is changing the rules for journalists. I think this is related to the New York Post reporter being kept out of the White House press room because he always asked questions about Hunter. They're going to, in future, they're going to expel reporters if they don't act, quote, in a professional manner.
Now, I believe they're going to do that because the Washington Post, or the New York Post, correction, is a conservative paper. So for the most part, anybody who comes into a press conference and asks the White House questions that don't fit the narrative of the left, they're going to do everything to cancel them. And that's what the left does. The left will utilize their speech because they want us to believe in everything they do. But whenever we put something out, they call us fascist, homophobic, xenophobic. They say we're misogynistic, we're bigoted. They make up all kinds of adjectives describing us. But if you think about it, you put that mirror up to them, who's really being the fascists? Who's really being the authoritarians? The left. But see, they don't see that because the left lives in denial. The left in this country, they live under arrested development. Fair use, fair use. Let's continue.
That seems to me to be a First Amendment issue, Hugo.
Well, it is a First Amendment issue. You'll probably remember that this matter was adjudicated in the last administration. I had some sympathy for the White House when Jim Acosta was doing his cheap theatricals in the briefing room. And, you know, there is always the danger that reporters will sort of act up and not be professional. But there's an equal danger, at least, that the administration will decide that reporters who are asking awkward questions are somehow not acting professionally. But when the matter went to the courts in the last administration, the court sided with the journalists, and journalists were allowed to stay in the briefing room. It's a constant. There's a constant tension between the two, but the Constitution sides with free speech.
Hugo, I get the impression that some of these big issues, like the border, Title 42, like Hunter Biden, they're so big, they're so chaotic, they're so important that they're beginning to make an impression on voters at large. Not just the cognoscenti, the people like us who follow politics minutely, no, but a broader population. And I think it's a negative for the administration. What say you?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I would actually say that there has been a widespread public concern about some of these issues. Obviously, inflation and the economy on the one hand, clearly the border.
Well, what's funny about the media, every time Kamala Harris got on one of these shows that she tried to give a town hall or an interview with the media, the media would never ask her about these issues. I'm talking about the border. They never really got into inflation. They never got into taxes. They never got into free speech. They gave her a pass. They allowed her to say anything she wanted to say, and that was misinformation. But you had people like Hillary Clinton getting up here talking about how much Trump gave out misinformation. Now, Hillary is mad because she ran for president twice and failed. She ran against Barack Obama. She lost to Barack Obama. She ran against Trump. Trump won the Electoral College but lost the popular vote. This is why Hillary went around. She got on national media saying that Trump was an illegitimate president, when we all know that to be elected president in the United States, we do not go by the popular vote. We go by the Electoral College. This is why you have a number of individuals on the left that want to stack the courts. They want to put in all these liberal judges. They want to get rid of the Electoral College. The Electoral College is in place so every state gets some representation, so we don't have states like New York, Illinois, and California delivering the results for the president, because during this election, Trump won the popular vote and the electoral college, and the media is still steaming. Fair use. Let's continue.
As well on another for some time. And these have been obscured and deliberately played down by many in the media, particularly the border. But they have become so big, particularly now with the ending of Title 42 at the border and the loss of that extra means of excluding illegal immigrants. I think that there is considerable public concern, and the polls reflect that. And that's perhaps why Joe Biden is at his lowest level of his presidency in public approval. And I think it's something like 2/3 of the public don't think that he's fit to run for a second term.
Yeah, that's a pretty damning 2/3, if you ask me. Hugo, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you.
Come back soon. See you again.
Control and
Well, as you see, now that was before Kamala Harris ran. This was all before the debate. But I'm just giving you instances on what the mainstream media isn't doing. Now I have some more to show you. Let's go ahead and this was more or less 2 months ago. But I want everybody to see how the media
Welcome back.
is in the tank or was in the tank for Kamala Harris. I want everybody to see this, because the media, the corporate media, they did not listen to anybody but themselves. Now, looking at the important factors like high prices, immigration, abortion, violent crime, stop opponent from winning. These are motivating factors that the media putting out. Now, these are the media polls. Now, again, I didn't trust the polls. Fair use. Let's continue. Let's go.
The economy is still the #1 issue for voters, as high prices rank as the most important factor driving voters to the polls. A new Fox News poll finds 39% of voters cited this issue as their #1 issue. And a majority of voters say high grocery and housing costs are a major problem for families. Voters still trust Donald Trump over Kamala Harris on the economy, according to this polling, 51% to Harris's 46%. But that same poll shows voters trust Harris more on helping the middle class. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds.
Now, that poll, when it was out, how in the world did they come up with a poll where at that time when they were running, they trusted her to take care of the middle class over Donald Trump when she was going to raise taxes? Now, see, this is what the media created. They made her look like this media darling. And when people voted for her, if I ask any Kamala Harris person out there, why did you vote for her? What are her policies? They can't tell me anything. So I don't like to use the word assume, but I will say this. The truth is they didn't like Trump. So you're going to throw the country away because you didn't like the other guy. But the other guy is actually putting out low taxes, corporate taxes, energy, because you have to lower energy before you can get it into any other sectors, because every sector involves energy. Now, that 53% that she has up here was really based on getting help with a $25,000 down payment for a home. The question is, how is she going to pay for that? Media never asked. Let's continue. Fair use. Fair use.
A member of the House Oversight and Financial Services Committees, as well as the Freedom Caucus. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Good to be with you, Maria. Good morning.
We haven't heard much of an articulation of Kamala Harris's policies. We know she wants to raise taxes dramatically. We know that she was the last person in the room after the Afghanistan withdrawal. We know that she's been overseeing the largest, if not among the largest, influx of migrants into this country in the last 4 years. And yet these polls have her neck and neck with Donald Trump. Can you explain it?
Well, look, I think she's pretty clever at word salad and saying things that sound good, but they're just simply no substance. And I believe this is the reason why you have union members around the country are saying, you know what, we want Donald Trump, because they're working hard every single day, Maria. They're out. They're up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., getting to the job, doing everything they can to make ends meet. And then the price of everything has just been massively pushing down their standard of living, and they've had enough. And so for undecided voters who would say that she's better for the middle class, let me point you to a couple of key facts. Her tax increases are actually going to stagnate our economy. That's not good for the middle class. Her price gouging proposal is really an absolute joke. What it's going to lead to is scarcity of goods and services. That's definitely going to hurt the middle class, because rich people are going to get their products no matter what. It's going to be the middle class. It's going to be the working poor who are going to suffer. And the fact that it's now been 60 days since she's been the nominee and she still cannot articulate even one point except saying she grew up as a middle class child, just relating to you is not solving the problem. And that's what she's trying to do. She's just trying to relate. She's doing a very bad job of it, by the way, but she has no interest in solving the problem that she created when she was the tie-breaking vote for Joe Biden's agenda.
Yeah, and, I mean, she was asked this specifically about, what is your plan for inflation? And I want to play you what she said in a moment, as soon as I know that is ready, because I want to get your take on how she's getting away with not saying anything. Watch this.
We really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams.
Aspirations and dreams. What bullshit. See, she didn't even answer the question. This was at that Oprah summit. See, sometimes you got to go back to where everything started to lead up to what's happening now. But because she couldn't answer questions, the media let her get away with everything. This word salad. Now she's struggling. And she thought she could utilize the media to bring her home, but it never worked. Fair use. Let's continue.
And ambitions for your family, and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been.
That was the answer, Congressman. How is the media not outraged? And
well, see, the media is not going to talk about it because they're in the bed with Kamala Harris. She's talking about, again, wishful thinking. So, and this is what the left, what they always do. The left has always been afraid of reality. I mean, we have two genders, males and females. All these other genders that are made up, this intersectionality, that's all the bullshit that they came up with from college, feminism. And see, if you think about it, a number of individuals who are on the left, they're your Marxists, your communists, and socialists. And the media is helping them achieve that narrative because the media is not checking people like Kamala Harris or any other Democrat. You look at CNN and you look at MSNBC, Now, MSNBC, they're about to get sold off. I have Comcast, and Comcast is going to sell off MSNBC because they're losing a lot of viewers. Fortunately, Fox is going to be the only mainstream media that people are really going to look at. I mean, Fox is, depending on what time you watch Fox is going more and more left, but the primetime slots are still right. But the mainstream media, they still haven't learned their lesson. Now, the information that you're getting right now is before Election Day, but you have to keep that in your head when it came to Kamala Harris. The media didn't ask her the tough questions. The media did not want to ask her the tough questions. And all she ever talked about when she was on that campaign trail was Trump this, Trump that, Trump that. When she forgot that Trump was president. And did women lose their rights? And did women shave their heads? Did women wear a lot of piercings? They're wearing more of them now. But didn't women enjoy the economy when Trump was president the first time? People forget that. Fair use. Let's continue.
Forcing some answers, forcing some communication of what she's going to do in the next 4 years. It's amazing to me.
Maria, I really want to talk to undecided voters in our country. The reason why you get no straight answer from Kamala Harris and the reason why the media does not request that from her is because the media wants her to be president. They are in the tank for her.
If you're turning 65 or beyond, you're going to want to watch this. There are a lot of people today that are Medicare eligible that are enrolling in Advantage plans because of all the advertising.
She couldn't even come out and clearly say how she would decrease the cost of food and of housing for middle-class families all across our country because she's not going to change any policy. She famously has now said one of the few things I think she was truthful about is that her values have not changed. Even her policy about this $25,000 tax credit for his first-time home buyers, all that's going to do is raise the price of housing $25,000.
Yeah.
It's bumper sticker, it sounds good, but it is not realistic.
Well, we know that President Trump has been pulling voters from traditional Democrat blocs, including union members and black voters. A new NAACP poll shows more than 1 in 4 black men under the age of 50 plan to vote Trump. Despite the Teamsters refusing to endorse a candidate earlier this year, internal polling shows 58% of those members, Teamsters members, are backing Trump, compared to 31% backing Harris. And you just said it. This is because this is the working population, and they understand their lives have been changed considerably in the last 4 years. What else does President Trump need to do to communicate his plans to a broader reach?
I think he just needs to keep going on the same track that he's going on now, Maria. He and J.D. Vance have been crisscrossing the country. They have really stepped up their game, doing media, doing podcast interviews, finding every possible way to communicate with the American people. When you compare their level of activity to these focus groups, these shows that Kamala Harris puts on, it's pretty clear that Donald Trump is the one who has a recipe to fix our country and to help working families, middle-class families get ahead. This is one of the reasons why, yes, 1 in 4 black men are going to be voting for Donald Trump. And I would anticipate the closer we get to Election Day, that's going to increase because Donald Trump is real. He is tangible. He's talking about his ideas. Kamala Harris is hiding in plain sight because if she actually shares what she believes, it will be a turnoff to the American people.
Well, actually, here's what the left does. And I like Congressman Byron Donalds. Got to keep him in the House. Now, the election is already over. There are a number of black people who have voted for Donald Trump. And it's funny to look at a lot of these outlets like The View. That's Sonny Houston. Oh, she gets fired. Whoopi Goldberg. These individuals, they make a lot of money. They don't like Trump. But again, you see somebody like Sonny Houston, another thing about a woman, see them with all these earrings in their ear and in both ears. Stay away from her as well. See, the media is really not even addressing the 4B movement that some of these women have decided to invoke. They got this from the Korean movement. And if anybody is familiar with 4B, it's no sex with men, no babies, no marriage, and no dates. Let me tell you something. As men, we don't care because a number of these women, they were already HT human toilets anyway. Somebody already broke them in. We don't care about that. They live in a delusional world. They're upset with themselves. They're ugly, ugly on the outside, ugly on the inside. They don't know what the hell's going on. They live for today. They don't invest. They're broke as hell. They're dumb as hell, but yet they're calling people like me, who was a Trump supporter, dumb as hell. No, these are the individuals that went to the indoctrination camps called colleges. Now they come out with the little fancy degrees, whether they're from Harvard, whether they're from Yale, thinking that they know best. These individuals don't know anything. They talk a bunch of shit, but they don't live in the real world. Their mind is of a sheep because they follow each other. Whatever the professor says, they listen. And again, that rhetoric spreads like cancer because it's in the 5 power conferences of society: your religion, your jobs, your government, your media. Religion, jobs, government, education, and media. 5 power conferences of society, which means that is basically the culture. And what's happening now is mainstream media is disintegrating right now. Because people like me, who are on YouTube, who are on X, we're actually putting out information as it comes. And we're also not forgetting about the old information. And see, the media did not look at Kamala Harris as a flip-flopper. I mean, you hated fracking, but now you're for it. How could you change like that? Now, yes, you can change positions. Either you're convinced or you did better research. But she just stopped on a dime and changed positions. Why? Because the media was in a tank for her and she was trying to get elected. Fair use. Let's continue.
Well, I mean, these polls, that's why these polls really are perplexing to me. It could be that there are voters who just, think, okay, well, she's a woman, right? And, she thinks she's a role model, right? And she is a role model to some, I understand. Back in 2016, she talked all about how she was the first this, the first that. And maybe that in and of itself, people are not thinking about what she's going to do. They just see her and think, like, well, here's what Kamala said back in 2016. Watch this.
I was the first person to be a woman Attorney General of California. I was the first woman to be elected District Attorney of San Francisco. I was the first person of color to be elected Attorney General of California. Whatever, first. Welcome to the Role Model Club. It's tough being a part of the...
Welcome to the role model. You fucked your way to the top. That's how you got there. And she's acting like she's the first. Well, bottom line, you've had many firsts. You even, the thing about Kamala Harris, she even lied about Kwanzaa. Yes, Kwanzaa. Now, Kwanzaa came out in 1966. She came on television years ago and said she celebrates Kwanzaa. Well, you think about it, Many of us black people don't even know what Kwanzaa is. We don't celebrate it. I mean, she's only a year older than I am, and she said she celebrates Kwanzaa or celebrated Kwanzaa. See, with Kamala Harris, and this is the problem, she's a compulsive liar. And what she tried to do was trick a lot of blacks into voting for her. This is why you saw her at black churches, but the media never pointed it out. This is why you have to go back sometimes and look at people's positions. And then you have to analyze, well, how could she change when she was 5 years ago and even up to now? A couple of months before election time, now you're for something different. She even copied one of Trump's policies when Trump said no tax on tips. I really never heard her talk about the border because the media never asked her. The media asked her softball questions. In fact, it was months before she would do an interview. About a month from elections, she would go on the friendly networks and do media. Why? Because she's just like Joe Biden. She's better off not opening her mouth, because every time she opened her mouth, another lie would come out. And see, the low information voter, which the people on the left are calling people like me and some of my other fellow YouTubers who voted for Trump and some of the other beautiful black women who voted for Trump, low information voters. You had one that came on, I believe Anton had a black woman up, and she said black men are uneducated. When she asked a black man about why you voting for Donald Trump, they said the economy. Maybe that black man she asked was not uneducated. He said the economy, but you hear a number of black women repeating the narratives from the media as well. Well, maybe he did not know too much about the economy, but he was right about the economy. Now, what he should have said is, okay, you take the economy, you cut taxes, you cut corporate tax rates, then corporations can hire more people, produce more, give more raises, and then you lower the energy prices as well, which everybody uses energy, and you have tariffs. Tariffs will not raise the debt like Kamala Harris said. Tariffs are taxes that come in from other countries. You know, other countries pay us, they make us pay tariffs. And you know another thing? They're harsher on us when we cross the borders into their country. You look coming into Mexico from Central America. They got armed guards there. People don't know it. And so you have a lot of low information voters on the left because they're only voting for Kamala Harris, or they only voted for her because of this. They didn't like Trump. She's a woman. She's got color in her. And she believes in abortion. That's why they voted for her. Because you ask any Kamala Harris supporter, why did you vote for her? They're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to repeat everything that they hear on television. And that's why television is tanking right now. Fair use. Let's continue.
The Role Model Club means being in a room where sometimes you may be the only person who has had the experiences you've had. Being a part of the Role Model Club means that people will watch you. Being a part of the Role Model Club means knowing that there are people who you inspire even when you don't realize it. It's kind of like a permanent membership to be a part of the Role Model Club.
There you go, Congressman. Role Model Club.
I don't care. And frankly, Maria, I don't think anybody else cares either. Are you going to fix the border? Are you going to help people thrive in our economy? Are you going to clean up the foreign policy mess of her boss, Joe Biden, which she was sitting shotgun for the entire time? Are you going to be able to negotiate with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping? Or are you going to give us word salad and phraseology and try to be a Hollywood starlet as opposed to a serious leader that our country needs? The choice is clear. The choice is Donald J. Trump.
Let me get some serious answers from you right now, because here you are, you and your colleagues facing another deadline. House Speaker Mike Johnson's stopgap funding bill linked to the SAVE Act failed in the House.
And that's another thing. Talking about a role model. So you want to be a role model to these women by basically showing them that they can sleep their way to the top. They can fool around with a married man, two married men. She really gets no experience. She puts black men in jail, black women in jail, but yet you black people voted for her anyway. And then a number of you black people, you get on all these liberal networks, you start crying like a bitch. Look at Van Jones, that bitch ass nigga. He talked all that shit last time when Biden won, and he was crying. He's weak. And then you have this professor from Princeton. Look, Princeton, you need to fire that nigga right now, because he is indoctrinating these students. And these students are paying a hell of a lot of money to go to Princeton. Princeton's an Ivy League school. But you're getting this nonsense. I mean, heck, I live here in Indiana, and I'm pretty sure IU, which is the biggest campus here in Indiana, Purdue, I went to Purdue, in the social science department, they're teaching these kids the same thing. Now, here's what I would be doing, and I'll just overview it. I'll be ready to cut some of the funding off. But before I get into that, fair use, let's finish this out. Fair use.
The measure would have averted an October 1st shutdown. It would have required proof of citizenship to vote, but your Democrat colleagues will not hear of it. The House now looking at a straightforward interim spending bill that would run through mid-December. Meanwhile, 158 Democrats voted against the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act. Go figure. They're not in support of this. This was to deport illegal migrants who commit sex crimes. The bill still passed with 266 votes, but those Democrats would not vote for it, Congressman. Can you explain this one to us?
I can't explain it at all. The Democrat Party is crystal clear. They care about open borders. They do not care about the violence that ensues from illegal immigration. Yes, we all know the heart-wrenching stories of violence against women in the United States. Rachel Moore and so many other women who have lost their lives, not to mention the people who have been victimized, the burglaries, the assaults that have occurred. But the other thing that has not been talked about enough are the young girls who are sold into sex slavery by the drug cartels, all because of Kamala Harris's open borders. But the Democrats don't care about any of that, Maria. I will challenge Chuck Schumer, bring that bill up in the Senate.
Well, you talk about the violence against women. What about men? It's violence against them. Nobody talks about that. Not even Fox News. And see, programs like the Violence Against Women Act, they've allowed women to say and do anything they want. And what do the women do? They go and use the system. It is about time for men to start fighting back, because of men are going to take their power back. They need to start right now. That means they need to get in media. They need to get into these colleges. They need to get on these jobs. They need to get everywhere. And if men are going to be called misogynists, let them be called misogynists. We don't hate women. That's just another way to shame us because we don't agree with your narratives because a lot of you women, particularly you liberal women, I'm going to say liberal women and men, you don't live in the real world. You don't even know how the world works because you had everything given to you based off the protection of people like me who went into the military and served my time, who get out there, work on the roads so you can drive from point A to point B without any issues. The problem with a number of you liberals out there is you live your latte lifestyles and you don't see what's going on around you, and you just hang out with people in your circle and you forget about everybody else and you don't think anything is taking place. So that badass Gerald Nadler, congressman in New York, when all that crap was going on back in 2020, he said it was all a myth because he didn't get his fat ass out of Washington. That's why. So we don't need guys like that. We need smart and strong men, not these weak men who are siding with women. No. If men don't want to lead, step aside. It's time for the men again. Start leading. And the only way you're going to lead is you're going to have to take it. That's the only way. That means you're going to have to take the media. You're going to have to go into colleges. You're going to have to take the colleges. You're going to have to get on jury duty, get in the criminal justice system, and you got to get the simps out. Unfortunately, right now, it seems like the simps are outnumbering the true masculine men. Various. Let's continue.
But what I'm going to anticipate is he will not. And the reason why is that the Democrat Party has no interest in fixing our border issues. They have no interest in protecting women in this country or illegal immigrant women who are being used and abused by the coyotes and the drug cartels. It is sick. And this is the story that needs to be talked about a whole lot more. But the press is too busy being in the tank for Kamala Harris and the radical Democrat Party.
So what's going to happen here? Will you vote for that stop spending gap?
Listen, if it's a clean CR into December, I'm not going to be voting for that, Maria. We have done that over and over here in Washington, D.C. It just leads to an omnibus right before Christmas, and that's not in the interest of the American people. So
are you willing to go to the mat and allow the government to shut down right before the election?
Actually, I will tell you, yes, I am, and here's why. Okay. We need to cut spending in this country today. We need to make sure illegals aren't voting in our country today. And last but not least, why are we negotiating with the Biden administration over federal spending when Joe Biden is not running the country? It's being run by his staffers and his aides. They were not elected. So in my view, this is one of the reasons I supported moving funding after Christmas, moving it until the next president of the United States. So the House of Representatives and the Senate, they negotiate with the next president because the current president is simply not in charge, and everybody knows it.
This is all really important points that you're making. Great points. Good for you, Congressman. I've heard it before. Shut down the border or shut down the government. Congressman, thank you so much, sir. We'll be watching.
Leaders, they're always early.
Another thing, let's talk about these sanctuary cities, because you have some Democratic governors, and of course the dumbass mayor from Chicago. They don't want to play ball with Trump. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I would do. Cut the funding off. You see, if you cut the funding off, they will play ball because it's all going to come down to them. You want to get the migrants out, and already some of the Haitians, they're already leaving Springfield, Ohio, because they know what's coming. And see, the media is not reporting that. I'm reporting it. It's true. And there are going to be more migrants leaving. And the bottom line, I don't have a problem with immigration. I have a problem with individuals coming across the border, getting welfare that I pay for. And then they can sit on their ass and make babies all day and get free health care, which I have to pay for. and they come across illegally, that makes you a criminal, whether you're a man, woman, or child. Yes, I didn't hear anything about the drug trafficking going on. The media is not mentioning that. The child trafficking. Kamala Harris didn't mention any of that. But yet the media right now, today, they still haven't learned their lesson. You have Joy Reid. You have The View. You have CBS. They're still spewing their vitriolic hate for the right. The bottom line is they can't accept. You got to take that L. You all lost. I mean, yes. When my side lost in 2020, certainly we were upset. But we look toward 2022 to make sure that the policies that Biden wanted, and again, Biden wasn't running the country. He had aides. He had really some of Obama's people running this country, a lot of bureaucrats who were unelected running this country. Well, you see what these bureaucrats do. They're really running the country for themselves. And now you're going to have some issues out there with the nominees that Trump has put up. And you have some snakes in the Republican Party as well. See, I don't trust people like Mitch McConnell. I don't even like Mitch McConnell. He needs to retire. Cornyn, I don't like those guys. The bottom line is we want people who are going to be in the Senate that we elect to do the job. And I believe some of them have seats that are up. But the bottom line is these guys, they want to side with Democrats because they believe in a military industrial complex. They want that elitism. You look in the Pentagon, do you know that they lost $824 billion? $824 billion. Nobody knows where it is. Now, I remember 10 years ago, they lost $450 million from the Board of Education. That's why Trump wants to get rid of the Board of Education. Let the states handle the Board of Education. And yeah, if these schools and colleges are teaching bullshit, take away their accreditation, take away their funding. Because when you take away their accreditation, even if they're a private school, it costs a lot of money to get accredited. And it takes a while to get accredited. These schools better think about it. Take away their endowments. Fire the professors. We need more for education. Public education is just not good education. What we need home schools, we need charter schools. We need to put everything back into the community colleges. I just believe that we're stressing too hard that we need college degrees. No, unless you're going into a field like engineering, law, or medical, or you want to be an accountant, you even have some, and I'm not knocking psychology or psychiatry, but some of those people in that field, they need to see a psychiatrist or psychologist because you had a Black woman. And I'm going to tell you, if I had to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, it wouldn't be a woman, period. It would be a man where we could chop it up. Well, she was on a panel telling Joy Reid that the family members that didn't vote for Kamala Harris don't deal with them. Don't have anything to do with them because of the way they voted. Well, what if they disagree with the way you voted? These individuals are children. Their minds stopped growing at the age of 15 or 16. They don't have any structure. This is why they're sitting on the media. Many of them couldn't get jobs anywhere else because they're too stupid. So in the end, they're going to continue to spew their hate, their vitriol, because they lost. they're sore losers. And what it is now, masculinity is coming into the mix. All that feminism, all that wokeness, well, we're tired of it. I'm tired of individuals telling me I have to accept certain lifestyles. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. Don't bring it out into the public. And what we're talking about is tradition. The United States was based on a Judeo-Christian concept. It wasn't based on Cloward Pivens. It wasn't based on communism. It wasn't based on socialism. No. But you have a number of individuals who have never lived under these regimes. Now, some of the professors who came from other countries, well, if they've lived under that type of government structure, why would they promote it here? When you left the countries that had that, like Venezuela, like Cuba, like China, and you're trying to put it here? I'd rather be more of a nationalist than a globalist, because a lot of countries that are global, they have totalitarianism. And you have a number of people, education, but you don't even know what BRICS is. They don't know what BRICS is. BRICS. They wanted to get together to basically throw the dollar out. I believe it had something to do with China, India, South Africa. Was Britain part of that? I forgot what the BR stood for, but that's BRICS, BRICS. Russia was one of them too. Yeah, was it Britain, Russia, India, China? I don't believe it was Britain. I don't believe it was Britain. Could have been Britain, but let's say Britain. Britain, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And you know, in my race, well, black people, here's the problem with them. When it comes to voting, a lot of them are low information voters. They vote for symbology only. They really don't care about their economic status. And there was one black woman that I shared a video with TJ. Shout out to her, Sweet Chocolate. And she was for Black Lives Matter. Now, she wanted to boycott Black Friday. So you're out there boycotting what? Black Friday for what? Black businesses? Heck, we don't even have any black businesses hardly. You have hoods. And the people who are coming into your neighborhood don't look like you. They're Asian. They're sand niggas. That's who they look like. And they're cooking fried chicken for your ass. They're selling hair for your ass, and you buy it. So you talk about black business. If there was a black business, what you would do is you try to get something for nothing. You want a hookup. So don't give us that crap about you're going to support black business when there are hardly no black businesses out there. You might have some, but what kind of products are they producing? Most of them are probably out there on the street selling fake ass jewelry that you put on and it turns your neck green. They're probably selling shirts that look like a brand name shirt, but it isn't. I'm not saying all blacks are like that, but I know if you're in the urban area, they are like that. They're trying to make money the easy way. It takes a while, depending on what business to build. And black people, what kind of businesses would they have anyway? They'll be overrun with restaurants. They're all going to cook fried chicken. They're going to be overrun with barber shops, beauty shops, That's what types of businesses they're going to have. They're going to be overrun with retail. Now, it's going to be great, the competition, but do any of them even know about competition? Most black people don't even understand structure, especially if you come from an environment where you didn't have any structure. That's the problem. Or you didn't have any education. And going back to that black woman who's talking about black men with no education because they voted for, you have a number of black women who voted for Kamala who didn't have any education either. And I'm talking about common sense education. You voted for her because she's a woman and she's of color. She disagrees with Trump, and many of you black women, you're going to be left back anyway. And then you're coming up threatening us with the 4 Bs. We're laughing at you. Again, a number of the women in this country, they're children. They are. They listen to the media. They think they know more, but they've been given a platform that's been built for them, and it gives them a reason to run their mouths. This is why they say they don't need a man, because everything is created for them. The government is the man. Well, again, cut their funding off too. See how far they get. Just like these migrants. Cut the welfare off. These sanctuary cities. They don't want to abide by the rules here. Cut funding off. If the media puts out misinformation and it's delivered or disinformation, cut the license off. Make them pay a fine. You got to put some hurt on these people so they would come down to earth, because they believe in their minds that they're so much smarter than we are. But when you look at the whole spectrum, they're dumb as a box of rocks. I mean, I see clips every day, and some people may not watch mainstream media, but they're getting clips. I know when I saw Angerman, shout out to Angerman on the panel with HQ and Love on This Must Be Risky. And Brother Angerman, you don't even need to go on that show. You're too smart for them dummies there. He was trying to have a conversation. And even in a sense, they always try to cut him off. They don't want to deal with the truth. That's the problem. They don't deal in reality. They deal in a world that is imaginary. This is why when you talk to somebody who is progressive, they never make sense, because they're in touch with their feelings. They can't critically think. Bottom line, like I said, you look at how these liberals dress and open their mouth, and you can find out somebody's liberal when you talk about different conversations, because they'll lash out, they'll call you names. They love using ad hominem attacks, especially when they're losing an argument. When you address them with facts, you get sources, because when somebody gives me a source or tells me something, I want to find out where they got the source, because a lot of these sources out here can be biased as well. Well, you need to go to ground.com. Go to ground.com, because that's going to give you news from the left and the right and the center. And when you get to the center, it's going to put everything together and you'll be able to get the truth then. It's ground.com. You don't have to deal with the mainstream media. And like I said, when you have Kamala Harris going back, how can you be $20 million in debt and you're talking about running for president? She couldn't even run a campaign, manage. And we know those celebrities were paid. You think they're going to come and do something for free to try to get voters? No, they're not going to do anything for free. Now, Trump spent his fair share of money. He spent about $150 on Biden. He spent another $25 million on the hurricane. Yeah, what were those celebrities doing that hurricane? Oh, that's right. They weren't going to give him any money because they were Trump supporters. They were a few areas around Asheville, North Carolina, that were blue and they were Democrats. But no, they looked at those individuals up in Appalachia as a bunch of hillbillies. That's why. And then they were going to give them $750, and some of them didn't even qualify for the $750. But these celebrities, they ran around from their gated communities and talked all the shit about how bad Donald Trump was. And see, we as people, all we have to do is stop watching their movies, stop going to their games, stop buying their music. This is what we need to do. We need to start taking funding, like your public school system, your colleges, cut the funding. You want to get rid of the migrants, the sanctuary cities. This is a very easy fix. Cut the funding. They'll leave because if they know they're not getting anything free, they're not going to come here. But you have some of them that are leaving. Again, I just mentioned Springfield, Ohio. Bottom line, I believe I voted for the right person, and I don't care who has something to say about it. I wasn't the only black man who voted for Trump. So the Hodge twins, they voted for Trump. So my boy Nate, shout out to Nate, he voted for Trump. We knew what was going on. We couldn't be fooled. This is why you have to disengage from mainstream media. Mainstream media is dead. Bottom line is this. You need to educate yourself on how the real world works. The real world doesn't work on what you want it to be. You got to look at what it is. In order to see tomorrow, you have to live for today, but you have to understand the past. Countries correct themselves, but you have to have the right people in power. The Democrats want power, and they'll do anything. Just like the individual in Pennsylvania, in Bucks County, wanting to break the law, counting votes that are illegal. And she admitted that. So Bob Casey can win the senatorial race after it was put out by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that you don't count illegal votes. So they're already violating a law that was put in place. And she said, well, I want the court to hear this. Well, they've already heard it. You should be going to jail because you are committing fraud. And this is not disinformation or misinformation. This is true. Bottom line is this. The celebrities didn't help Kamala Harris. The feminists didn't help Kamala Harris. The transformers didn't help Kamala Harris. The liberal black women, the liberal white women, they didn't help Kamala Harris. And they're not going to help Kamala Harris. Because you had so many people, if you look at that map, that map told you a lot. This country is mostly red, center to right. Everybody's not going to be like Gavin Newsom and those idiots in California and New York. We don't want censorship. But you look at Trump when he went to that MMA fight. You got NFL players doing a Trump dance. And you know, you had, I believe you had the NFL, they didn't want him doing that because it was Trump. So they're still trying to tinker with everything that Trump's come up with. Trump is a master marketer. I mean, you called us supporters garbage. He went in there, he took out the garbage. You called us fascists. We took down the fascists because we spoke this time. Hillary called us deplorables. We took you down. You guys don't want to deal with it. Why? Because you're sore losers. Your children. Think you can run around cutting your hair off, wearing different colors, telling us you're not going to marry us, have our children, have sex with us, date us. We don't give a damn. Because many of you are lying anyway. You watch too much TV. And anyway, why would any of us want to deal with you all anyway? You're kids. You get Whoopi running her mouth on The View, Sonny Houston running her mouth. And you know, these individuals run their mouths, they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't really do any research. The media is all collaborating with one another. That's all they're doing. They're running all on the same playbook, and they're getting paid to do it. These are paid surrogates. They bloviate every day. And the funny thing about it is, if it worked, Kamala would be sitting in office. Now they want to find some ways to get Kamala in office because they lost. What they need to do is regroup, grow up. We had to regroup. Trump just was a better person. That's why I voted for him. And this smile tells you, I'm glad. Put some masculinity back in the house. Yeah, I hear a number of women, oh, patriarchy. Did some of you benefit off of patriarchy? You don't know if you do because you're so wrapped up in, oh, he's going to control me. The government controls how much you get. If you're on welfare, the government controls how much you get for that Pell Grant college. The government controls how much you get for that loan you get. You still got to pay it back. We're going to college, thinking you're educated, and you're in debt because you go out for the bullshit majors. But it serves you right. But as I close, just want you to know, the mainstream media is done. They're down 45, 50%, or even more. Want real media? And yes, there's some people on YouTube who spit the propaganda as well. I don't spit it. I'll make sure I give you the truth. And if I'm wrong, you research it. You tell me where I'm wrong and I can correct myself. But you got to research. And I always tell people, it's not agreeing with everything I say. It's looking at the picture for yourself. Because you're the one who's living. I'm in a different situation than some of you all. But I will say this. These liberals don't want to get on board. Cut the funding to all their cities. Cut the funding to the education systems. Cut the funding for all these migrants. Let's cut the funding. And remember, these liberals, particularly your Johnsons and that knucklehead in Baltimore, they got to get elected. And of course, you're going to have blacks voting for them because blacks, they vote for symbolism anyway. That's all they vote for because they want somebody to be the first black, the first woman, and they're still broke. They still don't have any businesses. They still have high crime. They still have high out-of-wedlock black pregnancies. Yeah, they're thinking they're getting education. All that DEI stuff, I don't care about it because it never served me anyway. But I know a number of you BWs do. All I can say is this. The walls have come crumbling down. And they want to keep crumbling. And in the end, only the strong survive. If you're weak, you're going to get stepped on. But see, strong people, no matter what it takes, when you look at it, freedom is always worth fighting for. And that's why we broke away from the monarchy of England. The system is not perfect, but whether you're on the left or the right, be glad that we have freedom. But for the left, don't silence one side. You might learn something from the other side, and to the right as well. But for the individuals that are irrational, put them in a mental institution, because that's where they need to be. They're a damage to society. But in the end, I'm going to ask this question. You want freedom or you want tyranny? Because listen to podcasts that give you what's really going on out here, you're going to maintain your free thinking. But if you listen to the media, in college, in religion, in jobs, in government, you're going to always be indoctrinated with lies, and you'll be a slave. Because what is a slave dependent on? A slave is dependent on somebody else for their freedom. And a slave cannot think for themselves. And that's what liberals want. They want a dumbed down society. But people like me aren't going to let it happen. I don't care if you call me names. I don't care if you tell me I'm a misogynist. I'm a free thinker. I voted for Trump. And I see what's going on in the real world. Not going to change my mind. And I'm not going back to that plantation. Because the plantation is prison. That's shackles. I'm not going to vote for a party who has not my best interest. And the Democratic Party does not have the best interest for black men. So you black men, you call us free-thinking black men anything you want. Go enjoy that plantation while I enjoy my freedom. And in the end, I'm going to come out on top. Why? Because I'm a free thinking man. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some STEM information, you check out the QCIS channel. On that channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and of course, math. Now, here's where you can find me. On the 411 Talk Zone radio show channel, you can find me right here on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Rumble, and Truth Social. And for the QCIS channel, you can find me right here on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, and LinkedIn. And in the end, always be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. And if you don't like the shoe, change it. That's for all of you haters out there. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.